I believe Big E should win Money in the Bank. I think they could set up a really good heel turn and a big story on Monday Night Raw that they desperately need. One of the main events for Money in the Bank is Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston trying to recreate Kofi Mania. Have Kofi win the WWE Championship. Only that Big E cash in on Kofi Kingston. Now, you could tell the story early on that, Big E's not going to cash in on Roman. Kofi is the easier person to cash in on. And Kofi's like, whatever, I understand. Friends are, we're still friends at the end of the day. But you really start to see a more serious side of Big E, which is something people want to see. A serious side of Big E. So then he finally turns on Kofi, and you get this story that you can go from 3 months to 6 months. Why Big E? Why? For 6+ years, I did this stuff with the New Day. I was having fun, throwing pancakes, dressing like a unicorn, all these colorful outfits. What did that get me? Sure, a bunch of tag team championships, but I was never the marquee man. I was never the name everybody talked about. I was always an afterthought. I was always a joke. I finally break away from the New Day, and what happens? I become Intercontinental Champion. And still, people thought I was a joke. And when I was still joking around, I had my first big match at WrestleMania, only to lose in my hometown because people still have that stigma of me being a joke in the New Day. And you have this big giant heel turn with him, and Kofi chases the title. So you have him finally chasing a title that he should have done the first time after losing to Brock. I think they would have a great story with them for 3 to 6 months on Raw. I think that would be amazing. Big E should win Money in the Bank.
If you put that dynamic together and you have Big E essentially take the title off of Kofi, instantly Big E becomes the talk of the town. It's something to pay attention to. It's different. It puts him in a position where, much like, I guess if I can compare it to something, JBL. JBL was in the acolytes. He was never looked at as one of the top guys or somebody that would ever be in the championship picture. Well, he came out, he had a different attitude, he had a different character altogether. He was essentially himself, JBL. He was a jerk. And you know what? It worked. He became one of the best heels, in my opinion, during the Ruthless Aggression era. I'm going to go a different direction, though. I think Ricochet should win. I honestly think that Ricochet should win. And I know that we've had conversations about his lack of personality and stuff. And I'm going to contradict myself again here. I've been paying attention to Ricochet on social media, and I'm not going to come out here and say, you need to pay attention to YouTube. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to say that if you've paid attention to even his small and short feud that he had with Ali, if you've been paying attention to some of the stuff that he's been doing on YouTube, it's not the same Ricochet. There is some sort of bravado there. There is some sort of character there. He can actually talk. He can cut promos. As long as he's allowed to go out there and be himself, he can do it. And you know what? You can give him a manager. And you know why this will work too? Because if Bobby Lashley wins, remember, long-term storybooking or storytelling, as people say WWE doesn't ever do, which we know that they really don't in a lot of cases, but there was a feud for a while between Ricochet and the Hurt Business. Now, the Hurt Business essentially is dissolved, but at the same time, Bobby Lashley is still champion. WWE is in a desperate position where they need new guys. They need to start pushing some of their younger guys. They need to position some guys that haven't been viewed as the top guy. And you know what? For a long time, Money in the Bank was used as this prop, if you will, to really kind of catapult somebody that they thought had a lot of ability from, upper mid card to main eventer. I mean, Edge, it worked for him. A lot of people it's worked for in the past. Why not take a chance? At least you're trying to position.
This is part of the problem. You look at the Money in the Bank contract for the men's since 2017, and either it was an unsuccessful cash-in or someone lost the briefcase. Every year, except for 1 year, and the one person that won it cashed in successfully wasn't even in the match to begin with Brock Lesnar. We were there for that at Hartford, Connecticut, the XL Center. Someone needs to win this thing, cash in successfully, and do something with it. You have to go with someone that actually has somewhat of a fan base, somewhat of charisma, someone with, a chance to be a main eventer. Whether you go with him as a heel or go with him as a babyface, Big E is in a much better position for that than Ricochet. I'm sorry. There's not enough vanilla in Madagascar to make up the vanilla-ness of Ricochet. And that might piss off a lot of people, but Ricochet is vanilla. You can't get more vanilla than Ricochet. They're not going to give him the briefcase. He shouldn't win it until he could actually show he has a personality. It's more that you can't
we just talked about that. We just had a conversation about this. So when are they going to give people the opportunity to show if they have the personality or not? Like when are they going to take a risk?
He's had storylines. He's been a former United States
when
champion.
He first came up from NXT, why would anybody be ready for the main roster when they're first called up?
They should be. They should be ready for the main roster.
Hold on. Did you always envision Edge? When we were growing up and the Edge was in the Brood, did you look at him and say to yourself, you know what? That's a main eventer. That's a guy that could be the rated R superstar. That's a guy that can headline WrestleMania against The Undertaker. Did you honestly think that looking at him?
No.
But it was in there, wasn't it? He had that within him. If you're not going to give guys opportunities, what's the point? It's going to get stale.
Edge had a lot more charisma than Ricochet.
He didn't talk. He didn't talk until he was tag team with Christian.
But they still did stuff for many years. And that whole thing with Kurt Angle.
His original character, Ricochet's been on the main roster for how long? 2 years? A year and a half? Okay.
2 years.
If I go back and look at Edge's career, I think he's still going to be the mute who used to jump the guardrail and come out to the theme music. He was known for his in-ring ability. He was never known for being the rated R superstar, his ability to cut promos. How are these guys going to get any better and develop if you're not going to give them the opportunities? He doesn't even...
I agree with that.
If his shortcoming is his promos, you can't find... There's nobody that could be his manager in WWE. Nobody. You can't find that. Again, this goes back to the point.
They don't use managers anymore.
Well, they don't use a fucking manager. There's nobody saying you don't have to. They choose not to.
Who's going to manage them then?
I don't know. You can have MVP double cross Bobby Lashley in a line with Ricochet. For what reason, I don't know yet. But if you wanted to do it, you can do it. Why not?
Well, first off, I think managers work better with heels than they do baby faces. Not saying that it's never happened. They've definitely had baby faces with managers, but they work better with heels. And unless you're going to have Ricochet turn heel, I don't think that makes a lot of sense to put a manager with them. I think... Like with Big E,
Zelina Vega.
She's very good on the mic and is a very good manager. But if you're not going to do it with Andrade, why the hell do it with Ricochet? With Big E, you don't need a manager for Big E because he could cut promos.
All right. Let me just ask you this. If it's not Big E and it's not Ricochet, do you have any interest in anybody else winning that briefcase?
Kevin Owens.
Oh, God. We've seen it. We've seen it already. We don't need to see it again. You don't need to see... He doesn't need the briefcase to feel special. He's Kevin freaking Owens. He's already a top guy there. So you'd rather see, again, Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns rather than Ricochet cashing in and taking a chance to give him an opportunity? That's the
Long-term
problem with
storytelling.
WWE.
Roman never beat Kevin Owens clean. And then,
he doesn't need the briefcase. So he doesn't need the briefcase to do that. And then what's the storyline going to be? Kevin Owens can't beat Roman clean? Because if he cashes in, I'm sure he's not just going to walk out and say, let's have a match.
He might because, again, I don't want to bring up the whole homework thing, but talking smack, he had a recent segment on there where he called Paul Heyman, told him he's going to win Money in the Bank. He's cashing in on Roman. And Paul Heyman was like, you have the wrong number, and hung up on him. So you could definitely play that storyline where Roman never beat Kevin clean. I think anybody here really has a good case to be Money in the Bank. For the same reasons for Ricochet, Riddle is the better choice for that, not Ricochet. I'm sorry.
I would be okay with Riddle winning too. I'd want to see them utilize the briefcase to try and get a new guy over, to position somebody else in that upper mid card to main event level status. They don't need to be the next big star, but they have to start getting some of these younger guys comfortable in those positions, comfortable at the top of the card, because you can't just keep letting guys walk. You can't just keep letting these guys come up from NXT and say, well, we don't know what to do with them. Well, you got to give them an opportunity. And why not? If you're going to do it, the briefcase is the best way to, it's essentially an out. Because you can make them feel like they're special. You can build them up for up to a year. They don't have to even cash in until towards the tail end of that, So that's their chance to prove themselves.
I agree. But that's why I think Big E should win. I think right now he is the most charismatic. He's got the best look as far as a lot of, maybe other than Drew McIntyre. He's got the best look. I think you could play around with him. I think he touches the most demographics as far as an audience is concerned. You could push him as a babyface, but you could also tell this whole story with him doing a heel turn and make that most important story that Raw needs that they haven't had for a very long time, other than, you know what, we're two guys that want to have a wrestling match.
Yep.
I mean, you could tell that story. I think that's why Big E needs, not just should, needs to win Money in the Bank and cash in on Kofi Kingston.